What is family? What does family mean to you? That's a really important question because sociologically, the definition of family depends. Time, place, culture, and who you ask will change the definition of family. If I sent a poll around to this class and asked you what family is, depending on how many students I have in this class, I'd probably get about that many different answers. In sociology, we try to use the definition that family is two or more people who are related by blood, marriage, or adoption, who are part of a relationship in which there is commitment, mutual aid, and support. So sometimes family comes down to choice. Sometimes we choose our families. Sometimes our blood families are who we consider to be our family. Again, it depends on who you ask, it depends on time, and it depends on culture, what we mean when we say family. So when I talk about family in this miniature lecture, or as I mention it throughout the semester, it means different things to different people, and that is absolutely okay. Marriage, on the other hand, is something that we need to look at the definition and think about it on a specific basis. So marriage is a legally recognized economic and sexual relationship between two or more persons that includes mutual rights and obligations, and it is assumed to be permanent. The part that I really want to home in on right now is the legally recognized. So marriage is a legal contract. There's a reason that you cannot enter into a marriage legally until you are 18, because you cannot legally enter into any contract under the age of 18 without parental consent and support. So marriage, first and foremost, is a contract that is legally binding. You literally have to sue someone to be unmarried or divorced. So we typically think of it as an economic relationship as well, where there's support economically. We share paychecks, we share the burden of bills, and we almost have to. It's really rare to see a family consist of two married people where one works and one doesn't, unless they're very wealthy. It's just very expensive, and sharing the economic burden is helpful. Now, I did mention a sexual relationship. We assume that there is a sexual relationship in marriage, but again, it depends on who you ask. It depends on time, place, and culture. Sometimes there is no sexual relationship in a marriage. Now, I also mentioned that there are two or more persons. Now, in the United States, it is not legal for more than two people to be married to one another. So polygamous relationships are not legally recognized, even in Mormon communities or states like Utah that have a high Mormon population. It's not legal. Now, it is a commitment ceremony. It is legally binding to all the people involved in that relationship, but it is not recognized by the state or the federal government if there are more than two people involved. Now, again, that does depend on time, because that could change as we go forward. So, how do we select a mate? How do we select this person or persons that we are going to spend the rest of our lives with? Well, the first thing that we have to do is evaluate them. When we meet someone for the first time, we typically go through some stages of evaluation. We may not recognize that we're doing this. I'm going to put some names to some things that you've been doing since you started meeting people and were conscious of attraction. The very first thing we do is we evaluate whether or not they stimulate us, the stimulus stage. So this can mean different things for different people as well, because we can find someone physically stimulating, we can find someone intellectually stimulating, we can find someone funny and that can stimulate us. Whatever it is to you that you find stimulating in another person is what you're evaluating in that stage. So if you know that the physical appearance is important to you and that's what you evaluate first, that's your stimulus stage. If a sense of humor is what is important to you, that may be what you are evaluating in your stimulus stage. The next stage that we use is the value evaluation stage. We are looking at another person's values and we are comparing them to our own values to see if they are compatible. Because sometimes somebody will value family and the person that you're seeing whether or not you want to date doesn't value family. That can be a deal breaker for some people. If you value different things, it's difficult to have a relationship. Not always, but sometimes. So during this stage, not only are you going to look at their values and look at yours and see if they're compatible, you're going to see how compatible they are. And you're going to see how willing you are to have different values going forward. It might end there. But if you've gotten past the stimulus stage and you're okay with the way that your values line up, the third evaluation stage is the role evaluation stage. This is when in our brains, we're going to put that person in different roles in our life and see how they fit. So maybe we're going to put them in the role of friend. How does that feel? Maybe we're going to put them in the role of domestic partner. How does that feel? Maybe we're going to try to put them in the role of husband, wife. How does that feel? How does it feel to put them in the role of parent to a potential child? How does it feel to put them in the role of a lover? We are going to evaluate how it feels to have them in specific roles in our lives before we move forward. And maybe the one that we find that feels the most comfortable is no role at all. And that's okay too. That's all part of the evaluation stages. That is how we begin to pick a mate.